Welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra, broadcasting from Tulum, Mexico. And I'm really happy we're all together again, once again. One moment, I am trying to see what happened here. Where is following? So, okay. Good. Sorry about that. Getting all the equipments running. The topic, first of all, it's good seeing you all being back in Tulum, Mexico. There's a lot of, I feel very grateful for everything and my life and all you beautiful people being in my life and all the love that I receive. And it's just really it's a blessing. And it's interesting because the mind always comes up with stories, and there's always a little voice there and says more, I want more, and or this is not enough, or it's not good enough. And all kinds of different things happens in our lives. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be about Miss Hilda, gratitude, or
Yes,
nothing has ever happened.
gratitude and nothing ever happened.
Yeah, well, there are two full-on topics that we can get into, but let's talk about nothing has ever happened. How's that? We
That
stick to the
sounds good.
first one.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Yeah. So when you sleep and you don't dream, you every night we sleep, and let's say you have very good sleep and you put your head down and you're gone and you're not dreaming. And what does happen to the rest of the world? Where does the world go? Where is it? So it disappears. It disappears because the world, as you know, exists only when you're awakened, uh, or you're dreaming, either or. There's a watcher watching it, and then there's an subject and there's an object. So there's got to be a seer here for something to be seen. Otherwise, it just does not appear. And it's just a fantasy, it's an imagination, or it's in our minds, in our memories of the past, that certain type of events have happened. But right now, when you go back, the only thing that you can remember is your memories. That's all it is of your life. People who've been in your life have come and gone, the events you've had, whatever you've done, whatever has ever happened, they're non-existing, only in your memories. That's all there is. Where are they? And one of these days, we're all going to die. And I mean, the next generation, maybe one generation remembers you, certain number of people on the planet. How many friends do you have? How many people you know? Maybe you have 5 very good friends or 10 very good friends max, and the rest of the people, you know them and they know you, and all of them are going to be dead in the next 100 years, and no one's going to remember you ever existed. All of us, not just you, myself too. And and that's it. So now, based on looking at it this way, did anything ever happen in where I'm at this point, I'm just referring to my life or your life, you know? Yeah, when I'm gone, and yes, there's going to be some videos left or whatever, but 50 years, 100 years from now, no one's going to remember any of it. So, and then did it happen? Did it ever happen? Anybody here? Anyone has any kind of suggestions? So where excuse me, where Papaji wrote his book, this 3 volumes, it says nothing has ever happened. It refers to the very, very reality, the absolute reality of the nature of the existence, that it is a manifestation that manifests and appears to us, and then it disappears. And in this manifestation that appears and disappears, there's millions of billions of human beings appear on this screen. They appear, these people appear, but they're all reflections of one. There's only one reflecting as millions, but it's all itself. And then in this, there's this dance. Maybe there's war, and these two nations fighting each other, conquering each other, killing each other. But inside these soldiers that are going to battle and killing somebody, inside them, it's Her Majesty, it's the Supreme, and the other soldiers, the same thing. It's the Supreme. God is playing both roles, and there creates the war. It's attacking each other, they're killing each other, and all this stuff happens. But at the end of the day, nothing has happened, because no one really died, because it was all God, and it was happening in God's imagination. You're imagining the story is happening, and you're all of the characters of the story. It's yourself. It's happening in your own imagination. And then when it's over, it's never happened. Same thing, you are in your room, you're 6, 7 years old, you're playing with your toys, and whether you're playing a war movie or you're playing doctor and nurse, or you're having, let's say you're a 7-year-old girl, and your grandma gifted you this little box. You open the box, and it's in it. There's silverware, there's cups, there's teacups, teapot. So you're just playing by yourself. You're pouring some tea into these teacups, and then you're having people come visiting you. You're imagining you have guests. Maybe you're putting your dolls around, and then you're pouring tea for them, and you're offering them tea, and you're socializing with them. And this is all happening in your imagination with your toys. You're playing. Then you're lost in the whole thing. 2-3 hours, you are socializing, you're having a great time with your guest visiting you, and then it's lunchtime, and your mom comes and opens the door and says, "Come on, honey, lunch is ready. Come, let's go." And then you just go have lunch, and you completely forget about this whole thing. Maybe your mom goes there and puts everything back together. And then after lunch, you go and play another game. Did you have guests coming to your home and you're serving them? Or it just was happening in your fantasy? It was happening in your imagination. And then it's gone. So when Papaji says nothing has ever happened, is referring to that. Yes, in relative reality, things are happening. Yes, in relative reality, there's a past, there's a present, and there's an imaginary future. It's in the relative reality. It's in the third dimension. It appears to be that way. But in absolute reality, beyond thoughts, where you don't think, you're in silence, all of them disappear. They just go. They're not here. So from the absolute reality point of view, when you're looking at it, and you have that understanding, your consciousness has expanded to this level of understanding, nothing has ever happened. There's never been a creation of planet Earth. There's never been First World War, Second World War, French Revolution, none of these things have ever happened. Because there is not a person recording it. There's not a person that it happens to a person, because there's nobody here. All characters you're seeing is the one. It's itself, playing with itself in its imagination. And I understand. I mean, this is a lot to comprehend. This is a lot to digest. You know, it's a not the average person. I cannot understand this, or even average spiritual seeker is not attracted to this. This doesn't attract them. They want to learn how to manifest things, or how to create more money, or more to find their soulmate, love, and blah, stuff like that. Rightfully so. Like everybody wants to get their objects of desire. They're looking for that. So, but this teaching, the fifth dimensional quantum awareness, this is at the end. You don't come to this teaching, you don't get attracted to this teaching. It doesn't pull you unless you have advanced to a certain place in your consciousness. Otherwise, you neither hear this nor you will be attracted to it. It will not appear in front of you. And if it does, you don't see it and you're just not into it. But certain number of people on the planet that it's time. They've done their work, if there is anything such as past life. They've done their sadhana. They've done the spiritual penance. That they did their time. Year, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, they've gone through the cycle until they have come to this place. And somehow we stumble with, somehow existence puts us in this position that you hear these teachings and there's an attraction to the teacher. You feel an attraction to the teachings, but particular teacher, because many people may be teaching the same thing, but then you don't feel resonance to them. But all of a sudden, there's one person you feel a strong resonance with. It really sits with you. You really like the way they talk, you trust them, they make you calm and quiet. There's something happening in between. There's a chemical alchemy that happens that it pulls you together. And then your ears, they just, these Doberman dogs, their ears are down, and all of a sudden, something's up, and pew, the ears are up, and they're really like sharp looking. And this is what's going on here too. This is what happened for me. This is what's happening for you. There's an attraction to this particular teaching, and the teaching promises you nothing. It absolutely promises nothing, because there's nothing for you. I have nothing here for you. You're not going to get anything. There's no technique or system that we can use that we can manipulate life through these teachings, that things can go your way. So there is really nothing here that you can benefit from. The person, the me, the I, who wants something. But you go beyond the I thought, the person who wants something, then there's vastness. There's absolute vastness. Because now you have kind of gone beyond the blah, blah, blah. All this blah, blah, blah that is happening. All this energy and effort that goes into trying to become enlightened, or I'm going to take these breath work classes, and I'm going to go see this Swami in India, and I'm going to be taking this other course, and I'm going to, keep working on myself. There's a lot of energy goes working on my past traumas. I'm going to fast for 30 days, go to Himalaya or go to Tibet and do Vipassana, sit in silence. I'm going to work with this shaman in Brazil or in Peru and do some ayahuasca journeys. And I'm starting this year, first of the year, I'm going to go with the intention of all good. I'm making all my intentions, do a cacao ceremony, and blah, 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 blah. So doing this, doing that, this takes a lot of energy. The spiritual work, it consumes a lot of your time during the day. Trying to get to that. So, but that's a part of it. That's a part of the happening, the function of consciousness. It's a part of the deal that you cannot forget about it. It just keeps coming after you. It grabs you. And there's frustration throughout that. Sometimes you don't understand. You get frustrated. Sometimes you take it out of your teacher. And okay, I'm done with this guy. It's just like, forget it. I'm not going to listen to him anymore. He's confusing me, or blah, blah, blah. I'm not getting anything from him. And then you go away for 6 months or 3 months, and then pew, you come back. So it has a lot of ups and downs and a lot of confusion throughout this process. It's natural, it's normal. A lot of people go through it. And it's interesting when you get to this other side, and it's like, oh my God, it's so easy. It's just, why don't you get it? Well, it's so simple. But when you're on that side, yeah, you have to hike Himalaya. It's just like impossible to get there. So, but being open to the looking at stuff from a different angle. Like, let's say we're looking everything in life in dealing with consciousness, with your expansion of your consciousness. Nothing mechanical happens. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to get a badge, you're going to get a medal here. And, this is like your new level of consciousness, because you got something. Or all of a sudden something pops out of your third eye, or mechanically nothing really happens. It's just, and everything is the same as before. Nothing happens in the world. For example, if a blind person, I'm 30 years old, I've been blind all my life, and suddenly I can see. Suddenly, through the grace of God, miracle happens, and I get my vision. So everything has changed. My life has completely changed. But yet, in the meantime, in the world, nothing has changed. The world doesn't really care. The newspaper is still every morning being printed. You still have to go out and buy a loaf of bread. You have to pay rent. You still need to go to work. People still live their lives. Some people are born. Some people die. The government is running its programs. The bus system is working. Trains working. Planes working. Nobody gives a shit. Existence doesn't care. But suddenly, your world is completely upside down. You can see things, but in the world, nothing has changed, because the trees are growing, the birds coming and going, seasons are changing. Nothing stops because this has happened to you. Everything is continuing the way it used to be. And the same thing in this awakening, it's one way maybe you can help yourself, okay, by, suggestions, is that look at things from another angle. Try to change the way you look at something and look at it from somewhere else, from another angle. And for instance, this understanding, okay, like, wow, nothing has ever happened. There's no creation, there's no destruction. All of it is. It's just here. There's no ending, there's no beginning. So you start looking at things from these other angles, And then suddenly, when you start looking at it, really, like, okay, your mind comes, you say, okay, there's no creation, nothing has ever been created, and nothing ever gets destroyed. So this is like words, right? But your mind says, what do you mean nothing has ever been created and nothing is going to be destroyed? The mind is going to come and says, because the mind wants to attach itself, its existence only works based on attaching itself to an object. If there is no object, the mind cannot rise. It doesn't rise. You cannot think. It's impossible to thoughts. Because the only way the mind can exist is by attaching itself to something. For instance, I like this tree. It's beautiful. This tree is gorgeous. So the mind, I like the tree. So it attaches itself to that tree. Or I hate that tree. That tree is like horrible. So, and if your mind's going crazy sometimes, or you want to get into the practice of doing a practice, if you're a practice-oriented type of a person, says, okay, I can't just accept what you're telling me, Zarathustra, I need to practice. Fine. You can practice this. every time something comes up for you, okay, whatever, I feel lonely, or I'm depressed, or whatever thing is happening, okay, so sever the connection between this me, this I, who feels lonely. Lonely is an object, it's a quality of life. And there's the I thought, my thought is lonely. So if you sever the connection between the I and that object, whatever you like or you dislike, or it's a feeling, then this I thought that rises can't stay there. It just falls back to its source. And you will see, if you do this on a regular basis, it's not an easy practice. You have to get into it and also kind of remember. It could be so, but you're using this on regular basis. I'm not saying every day from morning to night, because you can get a headache, but it's in your consciousness and you're using it, and you will see for yourself that things starts to get quiet. And not so many why questions comes, because the problem is, like, we have questions. We're asking why. What do you mean there's nothing? What do you mean that it's herself? Her Majesty is in everybody. What do you mean by that? How is that working? Why would God do that? Why would God create this world and then having people fight each other, kill each other, which is God again? What's the purpose of it? You have all these questions coming up for you. And whatever question I answer, there's going to be 5 other questions come out of it. So it's never going to end. It's always going to keep going and going and going. So that's why Ramana Maharshi, Papaji, they talk about silence. They're talking about just be quiet. Don't ask any questions. Don't activate your mind. Just be in silence. So it's not that somebody may say, and a beginner or someone not as advanced will come and say, well, maybe this is a cop-out. You're saying this to manipulate us, or it's a lie, or it's a bullshit. What do you mean? I have questions. So, and that's valid too. But for me, with Papaji, when I was in Lucknow with Papa, and I couldn't understand so many of the stuff he was saying. It was just like too much for me. I was too young and immature, spiritual, consciousness-wise. And I just was like, couldn't really eat it and digest it. It was like, oh my God. And there were times like, okay, this is bullshit. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to Pune. I'm going to go to Osho's ashram. And there was a lot of fun there because there were the parties, there were dances, there was a lot of meditations happening. It was like very, very alive. And, but every time I wanted to go away, I would be pulled back. Or even if I would go to Pune, then I would come back because I could tell something was very strong of value was there. And I wanted to be sitting at the feet of the master and drink, receive. Even though I didn't understand, a lot of the stuff. But gradually, when you stay on the course and you keep being quiet, you keep being quiet, you don't ask questions. I mean, in your own mind. Every time a question arises, you treat it as that I explained to you. It's an I wants to attach itself to an object. So you just cut that. And so you don't let your mind to go anywhere. You're just here. You're just here. You're just here. And what happens normally is you're becoming more quiet, more quiet, more quiet inside. And something starts opening up. There's like an expansion begins to happen around you. Something's opening. And you start feeling lighter, as if some weight is off of your shoulders. Because there's a lot of weight. You're carrying a lot of weight. You're carrying the weight of the life, the world, to save the world, to save the planet, to save the animals, to save the jungles and woods and forests and waters. And in the meantime, you have to make a living, work. And you're maybe in a relationship with someone, so you have that responsibility. Maybe having kids or animals. So you're involved with a lot of different stuff. And also in the meantime, you're working on yourself and you're trying to navigate and figure this out. So what happens is the more you're just in silence, you're not looking, you're not asking questions, you trusted the teachings, you trusted your teacher, okay? And you're just like, okay, I want to ask questions, I'll just be quiet. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. As something changes, your vibration starts to rise. You're starting to vibrate from a higher frequency. And in that higher frequency, there is sensitivity arrives. You become more sensitive. And you don't really want to deal with loud things. You don't want to deal with a lot of mainstream stuff. You will go through that period. Like you don't want to go to a bar, they're playing football and everyone's yelling and da 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 da. Or you go to a restaurant somewhere, the music is too loud. You're kind of like more quiet. You like the nature. You're kind of like more inwardly. I mean, you're still operating in a world, but you're sensitive. You pick things up easier because your mind is quiet. The more you're quiet, the more receptive you are. And life speaks to you, existence talking to you. There's always this exchange of information which is happening. So in the meantime, you experience this expansion. Somehow things, because you're quiet, that's your practice. To be still, not let your mind go anywhere, wanting to know why this, why that. And since you're not getting involved with the politics, or you're not getting involved with the blah, 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 you don't get involved, you don't let your mind go to these places. You don't feed it, you don't give any food to it. So you're still. And you're not trying to control things because you're starting to realize like you have no control of anything. No matter what you do, it doesn't matter. It's like the boss, the big kahuna is functioning through you and is perfectly doing whatever needs to be done, even though you make mistakes or you drop a glass or you screw up or you destroy a relationship or whatever you do. The understanding that everything is happening perfectly is there. And in that sense of being in control of things loosens up. So this imaginary wheel, you're driving, your bus driver, you're imagining driving this bus or car, and you're turning the wheel in this direction, the car goes in that direction, you turn the wheel in this direction, it goes in this direction. Do you realize this wheel that you think you're driving, it's not connected to the tires, it's not connected to anything, you're just turning a wheel. And sometimes when you turn it to the right, the car goes to the right, so you think you're doing it. But a lot of times you turn to the right, the car goes to the left. That means, what I mean is, you think you're controlling your life. And here you start to realize that you have a zero control over anything. And in that understanding, all of a sudden space opens up. Because now, instead of like being really tight, you're just kind of chill out, you're just relax. And in that relaxation of chilling out and pulling back, suddenly space opens up. And there's a magic in that space that it reveals itself to you. You will start to notice like there's magic here. And one of the greatest things happen is that you don't suffer. You cannot suffer. You feel, of course, someone very close to you passes. You're going to feel pain. You're going to miss them. You're going to be going through the sorrow of that. Naturally, you have to. You're a human being. You have emotions. But you're not suffering because you understand that everything is happening perfectly the way it's supposed to. Her Majesty, the Supreme, this is God's will. This is God's game. You're one of the characters in it, and everything is perfectly being done. And you have no responsibility in this, and you were not responsible for any of the decisions that have taken. So you can't suffer. Blame yourself because you messed up. Because you can't mess up. Even when you mess up, it's not you messing up. Can you hear that? You hear the rain? All right. Any questions? Any comments? Anyone? You have to unmute yourself if you have a question. I'm going to look at here from Instagram. So the mind quiets down. You're not asking why me, why I'm in this position in my life, why I can't find the love of my life, why I don't have enough money, why. Those whys, they don't rise. And if they do rise, you just see them. The mind comes and says, why me? And you just see it. And you don't give it, you don't entertain it. The mind still does its thing, but there's no entertainment. And if you don't entertain the mind, it doesn't have anything, it can't go anywhere. It will come and say, oh, you stupid, you're an idiot, you did this, you said that. It will come and tell you these things, but if you don't haggle with it, it has no power. It's just thoughts. Thoughts appear. And these thoughts that appear, they could be like thoughts about, oh, I really want to go get some coffee, or, I want to go and visit Zarathustra in Tulum, or whatever. And, or I'm an idiot, I'm so stupid, I screwed up, I made a mistake. They're just thoughts. They appear and they disappear. They're meaningless. They mean nothing. And that then another thing happens, that which we can talk about it fully next week, is the gratitude, is the recognition of, wow, somehow I keep screwing up financially. I make mistakes business wise or financially or whatever, relation wise, you know, and then, but somehow everything always works for some strange reason. You start to notice it, like you make mistakes in 3D world, you screw up and you screw up again, but somehow it just fixes itself, and then you're somehow provided. Somehow money comes, you pay your rent. Somehow you had health issue, now you get over it. You had a problem with someone in your family, everything. Somehow it's just the wheel turns. And you're always provided. And since the mind becomes quiet, then you begin to experience the presence of the being, which is in you and is one with you. And you start feeling it, in a very subtle way. And there's these moments during the day that all of a sudden you feel really blissed out. It's like as if you're drunk. Like, wow. Moments happen. Like, wow. It's not overwhelming. This is not like taking mushrooms or doing an ayahuasca journey or going to a hardcore breathwork class that for 2 hours you're breathing, breathing, breathing. Now you're really reacting very strongly. No, I'm talking about a normal day. You're just, whatever you're doing, suddenly there's these bubbles of bliss coming, like, oh, oh wow. It's not overwhelming, but it's constant. And you realize, wow, you're grateful for your life. You're grateful for everything that comes, and you're grateful for everything that goes. You're accepting everything. Things come, things go. People come to your life, they're going to leave your life. But you have discovered the truth. You have scored, you got the golden truth, the golden point. The golden point is what? Is that I am, and I am, and I am, and there's nowhere to go. There's no death. I wasn't even born to begin with. I can never die. I'm always here. The fear of death, the fear of being abandoned, these fears, they begin to dissipate. Sometimes they come and go, but you're no longer a prisoner, because most people on this planet, they're afraid of death, And they're afraid of being left out, being abandoned, being lonely. This is like two really powerful things that unconsciously we're dealing with it every day, all day long, every day. Rightfully so, because from the time you were born, you are old. So from the moment you're born, there's this shadow behind you. It's called death. It's following you wherever you go. Even if you're 10 days old, you're old. If you're 1 month old, you're old. You're 1 month old. Death is right behind you. You can die at any moment. So there's the fear of death and the fear of being left out. But when you discover yourself, you have the presence, and you realize, I'm not this body, I'm not these thoughts, I'm not these emotions. I've always been here, and there's nowhere to go. I've always will be here, because what happens is, okay, the body dies, and what happens? The same I am is not even like the soul goes anywhere, because there's no separation. The same I am that was here is the same I am is going to be here. You just shifted from being the person to I am. Before, you were a person afraid of dying and being left out. Now you shifted to I am, and you don't care. This is going to die one day. I don't care. I'm here. I'm not going to go anywhere. So that fear, in the absence of that fear, there's a lot of bliss. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of freedom in it. You experience a lot of freedom, because prior to that, you're always afraid of dying or being left out. So you're dealing with that. A lot of your energy is going into it. But now that energy doesn't go there, you feel really light. You feel like bouncing up and down and want to go dance in the rain, because there's space here. Like, oh my God, I can, I'm not going to die. No, you're not going to die. So your body will die, but you're not going to go anywhere. You're here. So while we're still alive in this body, for me was like, I want to become that now, not necessarily waiting for the body to die. I want, if I can become the I am while I still have a body, then operating from this place. And in order to do that, you have to be quiet. You got to bypass the mind, because the mind is going to come and go like blah, 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 blah. And by doing that, then gratitude comes. You're grateful for. There's millions of things I want to have, or I wish was different for me in my life, or whatever. But also in the same time, the recognition that everything is perfect the way it is, and accepting it, and accepting when everything falls apart in life. I experience that all the time. Things fall apart. Yeah, there are moments of sadness or moments of frustration that, but then it's gone. And there's just silence. This is gold. This is gold, because the rest of the people on the planet, they're suffering. They're They're fear. They have fears. They're so afraid, always afraid of something. And it's not going to stop. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter how famous they are. Inside, they're afraid, losing their fame, losing their beauty, losing their family, being kidnapped, losing their kids. Competition. They're in competition. What do other people think of me? It's just like all these fears. They don't live their lives. They don't do the things they want to do. They're just always worried about what other people think about them, or no, this is not a good thing. I shouldn't be doing this or whatever. So you're breathing, but you're not really alive. You're not living life. You're just a robot. But this understanding brings freedom. You become free. All right. Well, nice seeing you all. Really nice to see you. And Academy will be next week, next Thursday. I don't know what date is that. Is that Christmas or is that Thanksgiving or something? I'm not sure. Something like that. But we will go forward as long as we can.
It will be November 21st.
November 21st. Perfect. Yeah. Perfecto. How are you, Monica? Nice seeing you. Welcome back.
I'm very grateful for your giving me healing, because I was very bad in my body, but now I'm fit for fight again.
I'm so happy to hear that. You look really good, and you're shining, really shining.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back, and it's very interesting to listen to you, and I learn a lot of it.
It's my pleasure. I'm really
Yes.
happy. You're my dear sister. I have a lot of love for you. So we all have a lot of love for you.
I have lots of love for you too.
And hopefully I'm coming back in March. So hopefully in March we'll see each other.
Yes, you're coming to Sweden again.
I don't know about Sweden, but I come back to Europe, but if not Sweden, Norway for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yes, fine.
Yeah.
You are always welcome to Hamar, Monica.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hilde.
Haven't seen you for a long time, so missing you.
Yes, I miss you too.
Yeah, maybe you can come with the other Monica. I haven't seen her for a while. Maybe she can come to you and bring you to Hamar.
Yes, maybe.
Elijah will come this time.
Mm.
Of course, Miss Marit.
Yes.
And anybody else who desires to. For those viewing our programs, this program, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, my website is zarathustra.tv, and my social media is Zarathustra5D. If you feel like there's value in these teachings, go ahead and forward it to your friends. If you feel like someone can enjoy or benefit from these teachings, it would be nice to forward it to them. Thank you for your support. And if you want to contact me, you can write to me, Zarathustra, info@zarathustra.tv. Sending you lots of love and look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much.